Adrian and Friends podcast. I just wanted to welcome my friend here, Louis Chaix. He's a professional hockey player. He plays in France with how do you pronounce it? I'm sorry. I was memorizing it all morning.
It's called the Neuilly Bisons.
Neuilly
Neuilly
Bisons.
City. It's right outside of Paris.
Oh, nice. You know what? I was like reading the name for like 10 minutes like this morning, trying to. I just didn't want to fumble the pronunciation, but clearly, but it's all good. But again, I know. Sorry, what's that, buddy?
I said thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, of course. Again, thank you for joining us. I know your schedule is very busy, and yeah, I know we've been planning this for quite some time now. But it's great to get it started, and you know, obviously, your life is pretty busy with being a professional athlete and content creator and things like that. So that's it's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say how I think I said before we hopped on here, but how I first found out about you and your page and your story was in the summertime. I think it was like July. I saw one of your videos. It showed up on my algorithm, and I just thought it was really cool. And you were talking about how what's made you a better athlete over the years is paying attention to detail, and like little things like that. And I saw that video, and obviously I thought like the content was like really good, and I actually took that into consideration. And it's true, like you tweak little things, and like when I'm on the ice, like I pay attention to little things that I'm not doing, and or even when I'm in the gym, like certain things that I'm doing that might there's not the right way to do certain things, right? So I think that's a big factor in being a better athlete every day, for sure.
For sure, because I feel like a lot of people always try to make these big, crazy changes, and I think that's where it can go wrong. Like, yes, sometimes these big changes are vital and crucial to growth, but I think before that, you gotta look into what little things can you commit to doing every day and pay attention to that will lead to big changes. Because it's easy to feel motivated and want to start a new training program or like want to hit the gym like 2 times in one day. But it's like, hey, instead of going to the gym 2 times today, can you like commit to going 5 days in a row every week? Or like, so yeah, I think sometimes it's good to like take a little step back and focus on, what can I do in this moment? Like what really matters that I can be doing better, or pay attention to more so that I can, generate progress instead of making big jumps that won't really last.
That's true. It's another thing is I find with paying attention to the little details like that is sometimes I have a bit of like a like a pride. I don't think most people do. Maybe they don't. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. But sometimes I find like what I think I'm doing is good, right? Because like I'm doing pretty well at it. But some people are always try to give you tips on how to be better. And I used to struggle with, I guess you can say, criticism when I was younger with a lot of things, but I actually find it very helpful now, like whether it be like just again in my everyday life or my job or even on the ice, right? So I always try to listen to what people are saying, and as long it's constructive criticism, and that's always like important to me. What's that?
Yeah, I said yeah, for sure. And especially like like sometimes you get advice from people that are doing exactly what you want to be doing, or who have done like those things. So I think it's important to like I'm always willing to listen and learn. Like obviously people always have opinions. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's bad, sometimes you need to hear it, sometimes you don't. But at the end of the day, like being open, I think as an athlete is the way to progress and like get things and achieve things, because like you can't do it on your own. So
100%. 100%. And I wanted to ask you, like I was saying before we hopped on here, I saw you played a little bit of hockey in Canada and the US. I think you played when you were younger in Canada. That's pretty awesome. Hockey in this country is obviously, as you know, is like religion, right? So
yeah.
it's yeah. So I know you were born in France, but did your parents move to Canada when you were younger, or how did that go about?
Yeah, so I was born right outside of Paris, and then I started playing hockey when I was 4 in a small country town called Poitiers. And then when I was 11, I moved out of my house to go from this small city in France to Nantes, which is another city on the west coast in France. I went to like boarding school there for hockey. They had a better program, and I wanted to practice more, get better. So when I was 11, I originally moved away from my house. That was like 3, 4 hours away. And then after 2 years of being in that school, that's when I looked to my parents and I was like, hey, I really want to go to Canada. And so it had always been my dream to go in North America to play hockey. When I was sick, I'm pretty sure that's what kept me alive, because that's what I was looking forward to. And it was my dream. It was my goal. So I was very fortunate, to have had the chance to go to Canada a couple of times for camps, for tournaments and stuff like that with team friends when I was younger. And yeah, I don't know, it was just one of those things where it was so in my mind, and I'm very thankful that my parents could help me make it happen, and like they were also willing to let their 14-year-old son move on the other side of the world to pursue his dreams, and I'm very thankful. My mom was even told me once, she's like, the biggest proof of love I can give you as your mother is to let you go and pursue your dreams. It's like, yeah, you're 14, you're my child, I'm going to miss you, it's going to be hard, but I'd rather like miss you every day and be sad than seeing you here miserable because you're not fully enjoying the life that you want. So I moved to Quebec City for 2 years. I was in host families. And then it was great. It was great. I mean, Canada is the place to play hockey, right? So like I
Yeah.
was a little kid full of dreams and discovered all the hockey culture there, the infrastructures, the gyms, everything. It was insane. In 1 month, I played more games than I would have played in a whole year in France. So the development for players was much more developed and better than it was here. And then after that, I played 1 year junior hockey right outside of Toronto, and then that's when I moved to the US to finish up juniors and start playing college.
That's beautiful, man. That's such a beautiful thing. Like, having such a good support system like that growing up is such an important thing, and that's amazing that your parents let you. I mean, and just I got to give kudos to you too, like to get out of your comfort zone like that, and come to like a new country like that, and 14
Yeah.
years old by yourself. That's inspiring, man. Like that's just amazing.
And it's funny because like I always knew it was the right thing for me to do. I was so aligned with what I wanted to do and what I was doing that I did never second guess myself. And that's something I still think about today. Now that I've played hockey for all these years and I'm in a professional career, and like it's full of ups and downs. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I want to keep playing as long as I know I'm having fun, and that's what I want to do. And it's cool to see that 23 years after I first stepped on the ice, I'm still feeling the same. Like, I can't wait for practice, I can't wait for games. When I'm away from the rink, I want to be back there. Like, I don't know. So it's great. I'm very thankful that I often think about this. I'm very thankful that I was able to find my true passion early on, because it really shaped my life. If I never played hockey, my life would not even be remotely close to what it is today. Like, it's scary to think about, actually.
Yeah, that's amazing. But that's awesome though, and like finding that thing that gives you purpose in life, that gets you out of bed every day and just what you love doing. A lot of people go their whole life without finding that, right? And you're just, and it's happy that you're living your dream, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So you're welcome, man. How's your season been going this year with Bison?
Yeah, so there you go. It's good. It's a good experience. Now we have a little issues that our rink broke down early in September, like after the
Oh
first week
no.
of training camp. So like I live 15-minute walk away from the rink, but so basically since September we've had no home rink.
Oh shit.
So what we do every day is that we have to go to the rink, pack our bags, load them up in the minivan, and then drive an hour at least, if there's no traffic, to a different rink to go train, and then we come back to ours, unpack our bags, and then we do it all the next day. And then for home games, we play in a bunch of different rinks all around the Paris area. So like we don't really have home games. We've been playing away like for most of the season, and we had a great start to the season. Like we were killing it, and then like right now our team's on a slump. We've lost our past 5-6 games, I think. One of them in overtime. Like it's just been tough. So I think it's all caught up to us. We have one more game before Christmas break, and then here the deadline to trade players is the 31st of December. So they have until the 31st to make changes on the roster if they feel like it. But yeah, I mean, personally, it's been I came here like super prepared, super ready to go, had a good preseason, and then the last preseason game I got hurt. I got a concussion. On my first shift, this guy just cross-checked me straight to the face when I went to hit him. And I wasn't I like lost consciousness right away, and I was out for like a month and a half. And yeah, I came back, and then it's just been like a grind. I've been working hard. I mean, just getting adjusted, and then trying to remain patient with the opportunities I get to, get ice time and stuff like that. So, it's just part of the process, and it's also my first year at that level. So I'm trying to remember to be patient, and yeah, at the end of the day, like all I can control is my hard work and all those details we were talking about earlier. So just trying to stay positive. It's hard, when you're a competitor and you lose a bunch of games, and like you want to be more involved on the ice and this and that. But at the end of the day, like, it's a team sport, and we're all in this together. So we've got to find a way to get it done. And I think that it all starts with us. So I'm just trying to, lead by example every day and do what I can to help the team steer in the right direction.
For sure. That's always a good thing. If you present a lot of leadership, that's always a big factor. A lot of coaches a lot of teams love players that present leadership through the hard times. Do you have a letter on your jersey by any chance?
I do not. I do not. I did last year in my previous team, not this year. I mean, I'm new to the league. There's a bunch of guys that are very experienced, who've had great careers, who've been here for years. And, although it's an amazing recognition, at the end of the day, it's not something I need to be myself. Like I'll help my team. I'll always put my team first. That's one of those things where sometimes I guess it's also tricky. It plays tricks on me because I care so much about the team that I kind of forget myself. But if that's how I'll be remembered as a teammate, then so be it. I'm happy with that. So I mean, we have really experienced guys on the team, and it's cool to learn from them also, and follow their path and see what I can look like in 10 years if I keep playing that long.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's always good though. A lot of like younger guys love to, see what the vets do on their team and try to, I don't want to say copy, but like, implement some of those leadership qualities, right? It's such an important thing. Like, it's such an important thing in the sport, being a good teammate. And that's one thing I love about hockey culture, Louis, is that, I find like in other sports, like basketball and the NBA, here, like an example, like, I don't want to rip on those guys, but they're not always the best teammates. They kind of just want to do what's best for them. And, there's like the whole load management stuff, which I don't think is fair to the team. Right. But yeah. And for hockey though, it's just like being a good teammate is like always one of the top prerequisites when you're entering any team, any league. And I just think that's something that should always be, not just in hockey, but in every sport. I think it's like an important thing. And also just, in your everyday life, being a good teammate, being a good leader, trying to elevate not just yourself, but the people around you, I think is so important.
Yeah, no, it's part of it. And I think that we all need to take ownership in doing this more. And I think we'll be back. The thing is, when you lose 5 games in a row, like your confidence is down the drain. I mean, like when we started off strong and we were first in the standings, like we would show up to games thinking like, hey, we got this, we can win because we are good. But now like we're on the other side of it, like, hey, we're going through it. Holy shit, like, are we gonna win this one maybe? Like, so I don't know. It's and we've had a bunch of injuries too on the team and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm excited. I'm hoping for a big week of practice and then one strong game. We played a number one ranked team this weekend. We lost to them the other day 4-3. So I'm hoping, I mean, we're playing at their rink and they have one of the craziest fan bases. So it's gonna be a crazy ride. But I'm excited we can finish off the year strong. Then we have a little break for Christmas. And then I'm hoping that we can start 2025 on a strong note, but we'll see. He's gonna
for sure, man. I'm telling you, it's the resilience and being able to knock on the door of adversity. Oh my God, tongue twister. And it's such it's a hard thing, but it'll happen. Like if you guys just stick together, and obviously it seems like you have a pretty tight team. Usually, teams that have a great locker room are usually get out of little funks like that. So just
they started the construction on our rink. So like we're supposed to get it back fairly soon.
Oh, good.
I don't know for sure, but I'm hoping like they said sometimes in January. So I think that the second we'll have a rink back, it'll be like a second breath for the season, and we'll. At the end of the day, like it's cool and all to be first in the standings and this and that, but all that matters is you make it to playoffs, and then like you see what happens. I mean, the Blues were dead last, and then they went on and won the Stanley Cup. So like you never really know. Sports, especially hockey, I feel like is one of those sports where nothing is guaranteed in terms of all that stuff. So.
Oh, 100%. Like that's a great example. Like the Blues were last place in the standings in January 2019, and they made the coaching change, brought Craig Berube in, and just he completely shifted the culture. And it just, I feel like like the NHL goes by different things now, but I still like to say the 1-8 because I'm old school in some ways. But 1-8, it doesn't matter. It could be anyone's game, right? Like anyone has a chance, right? And sometimes those teams at the top are burnt out from playing hard for 80 games a year, right? And then the playoffs come, and they're just not ready, right? Or they're burnt out. Yeah. So anything's possible, right? So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I have asked. Growing up, were you a fan of any team in the NHL, or did you have any favorite players?
I always get a lot of heat for this, but I'm like, hey, I'm from France, so I can pick whichever team I want. I was always a big fan of the Penguins, and then obviously guys like Crosby, Malkin, all these guys. I'm just always been a big fan of them. So what I like about Crosby is again his attention to detail, how professional he is, and like he doesn't talk much, but he leads a whole lot by his actions. And I always found that fascinating how he operates. This guy's like on another planet. I don't know.
Yeah, I find like his mentality towards hockey or his work ethic is very similar to Tom Brady, where he lives and breathes the sport, right? Like Tom Brady just loves football. If it were up to him, he'd still be playing right now. I'm like that'd be Crosby when he's around Tom's age, right? It's just that's just all they want to do, right? And I think that's so cool.
I agree, especially with the rhythm they have and playing so many games, and to see like they're just showing up all the time and they're excited, they're there. I don't know, it's inspiring to watch.
Absolutely.
I also like the Bruins because I did like work for them a little bit when I was up there in college.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I mean work is a big word. I was helping to like for game day operations and stuff like that, and the Bruins Foundation as well. So yeah, I don't know. Boston's a great city, and I was fortunate to be around the organization a bit, and I love the fans over there. They're crazy. Like when you go to a game at the Garden and you see an 85-year-old grandma standing on her seat, flipping off everybody who's not wearing a Boston jersey. I think that's pretty awesome.
That's amazing. I mean, I'm a big Montreal Canadiens fan. I've been for almost 20 years now since I started watching. So, I've never liked Boston, but I do respect the history. And
I hear you.
Yeah, no, I do respect the organization. They've even like to this day, I mean, they're not playing well this year, but for a while, like they just go in every year. Everyone's like, are they gonna do it? Are they gonna regress? And they just keep the same system, the same players, and it just works, right? So I
Yeah.
respect it. I respect it.
Yeah, for sure.
I wanted to ask you too. I saw on your Instagram story, I think about 3 weeks ago, and I think I shared the post too. It was in regards to a documentary that you're working on. Is
Yeah.
that, yeah? Would you
Yeah,
be able to go into that?
of course. Yeah. So I in 2020 I had just moved to Missouri State University for hockey. I transferred from the school I was at in Massachusetts,
Mhm.
and I was in a great place in my life, but I was feeling a lot of survivor's guilt from surviving that disease I had when I was young, which is called toxic epidermal necrolysis. And my teammates at Missouri State, they had this little thing they would do, like the Mighty Ducks. We would just go rollerblade around campus, and they kindly gave me a pair of skates because I didn't have one at the time. And they're like, "Louis, like just come for a blade with us on campus." And we would do it every day, just a couple miles. And then one day I went with my roommate Garrett, and we were just skating around like we would do every day. And I look at him and I'm like, "Dude, it would be nuts to skate across America." And he's like, "Yeah, but you can't do that. It's not possible." And so I went home and I had this idea and I couldn't get it out of my head. And I was like, I need to do this, but I need to find a reason why. And then it all clicked. I was like, well, hello, you survived something pretty rare, traumatic. You never really got involved with it and for it. So why don't you skate across America to raise funds and awareness for the disease? And then one thing led to another. I got put in touch with research center at Vanderbilt University with Dr. Phillips, with the Foundation for the Disease. And then I was fortunate enough through friends to get introduced to a movie producer from LA. His name's Ryan Delaney. And I pitched him the project, my idea, why I wanted to do it. I had the help of a videographer, Mike Hadfield, to help me explain my idea and the project behind it. And then we sent it over to Ryan, and Ryan was like, absolutely, I'll work with you. And so we documented my whole journey from LA to New York City. I covered almost 3,000 miles. It was 2,902.41 miles to be exact in 45 days. We were able to set the world record for the fastest time across America on skates. And yeah, we filmed my preparation. We filmed the little backstory on why I wanted to do this and who I am. And then the whole journey itself and life afterwards. And we are currently in the post editing stage of the documentary. And we want to release it to movie festivals and also then streaming platforms. We're just, wrapping it up right now. And then we're we're obviously always looking for investors who would believe in the project and would want to partner with us. But at the end of the day, yeah, that's what we did. We're creating a documentary that we want to release on all sorts of streaming platforms to shed some light on the disease and also like showcase what we accomplished. And it was the journey of a lifetime. It was crazy. So I'm excited to share with the world. It's been 2 years now that I've been done, and we're almost there, almost done editing it. So
That's beautiful. That's amazing though. Like I first off, I'm very excited to whenever it comes on streaming or wherever it's going to be available. I'm definitely going to watch it and support you and everyone that helped make this as well. You're welcome. You're very welcome, man. It's. I just love that your story just to me is very inspiring. Like, obviously with that disease you had when you were younger, and I remember you posted something saying you were born premature, 7 months, and
yeah.
that's just wow. Like it's very inspiring to a lot of young people. I just have to ask, where do you get the like? That's just your resilience is off the charts, my friend. You just know how to answer the door, and you're just very resilient. Where did you get this from, do you think? Or do you think it's just
couple answers to this, honestly. I think, well, first of all, I appreciate what you said. That really means a lot. But my mother, in the first place. She's the one who showed me how to be resilient. She's faced her fair share of obstacles, and she's always overcome them with grace. And she would have all the reasons in the world to complain and be upset and be sad and disappointed, but she never really approached life this way. And to see her deal with what she has dealt with her whole life and the way she's handled that, and with so much grace and strength, it was something that for me, that's how you overcame obstacles. Like you, yeah, situations sometimes are frustrating and you can't do much about them, unfortunately, but at the end of the day, like, you can't lose if you don't quit. It's one of those things where you always have the choice to keep going. The situations are there anyways, and we can make the choice to put one more foot in front of the other. And that's why this journey I did on my skates was very powerful, because at the end of the day, I could be tired. I could feel like doing everything but skating and just quit. Or I could be like, hey, I'm just going to put one more foot in front of the other and see what happens. And it's always been one of those things where I just think I don't know any better. Honestly, I don't know any better than just keep on going. It's been like that my whole life. And sometimes people think I'm crazy. Sometimes people, with the things I faced in my hockey journey and in my life in general, ask me like, dude, like, why are you still playing? Like, why don't you just stop? And I'm like, well, you're right. But at the same time, like, why would I? And at the end of the day, it's we all have the choice. And sometimes I think we look for external reasons as to like why things didn't work out or this or that, instead of looking inward and being like, yeah, I just quit. I just didn't do what I was supposed to do to keep going and maintain a certain level, and because it's uncomfortable. So I think sometimes it's just about being honest with yourself. And yeah, it's always been that way for me. So I had a great role model to look after my whole life growing up, and then that's something I carried with me forever. And surviving this rare disease when I was young, I remember being like, hey, if I can survive this, I can do anything. I can do anything. So yeah, I guess that's where it all comes from.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. I love that because there's a lot of people. There's people in this world that do well with adversity. Some people don't, right? And I just
Yeah.
it's just I find I've gotten better with it over the years too. When I was younger, I didn't answer well to adversity because I, didn't really face much adversity.
Yeah.
Like my parents gave me a good life, and
Yeah.
when I was a kid, and I think just some people just have to naturally teach themselves how to, to be resilient. There was been a lot of times in my life, like when I was like, my early adulthood. I'm 28 now, so when I was 21, 20, around that age, I went through a lot of hard times.
Mhm.
And one thing is too is people can help you and support you to get out of whatever your hard times you're going through, hardships, whatever it may be. But it's only really you that can help yourself, really. Like people could be there to
Sure.
support you, but
Yeah.
and having your family support is very good, and but sometimes you just gotta pull yourself out of even if it's a 6 foot hole or whatever, right? You just gotta climb
Yeah.
yourself out of it, right? You just gotta have the strength to do it. So that's one thing I try to remember too.
Yeah. And what was I had this thought from what you were saying. Yeah, it's like it's always good to have a great, a great circle of friends, a family there for you and this and that. But at the end of the day, like for me, positive reinforcement was never what made me jump out of bed. It was always like, oh, those people who thought I couldn't do something, or told me like it was impossible for me, or told me I was just a good kid or whatever. It's like, okay, like you bet against me. Well, then let's go. I'm going to show you, like, you're entitled to your opinion. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, but at the end of the day, I'm going to put up a fight. And it's, for me, it was always that kind of, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, but that kind of conversations that would make me, just do one more and keep on going. Because obviously you need to hear the good stuff here and there once in a while. It always feels great, but I think there's a fine line that you got to ride where it's easy to fall into that comfort of being like, okay, I work hard, I deserve a day off. Okay, I do this, I'll sleep in tomorrow. I don't know. Like, to me, it's great, but you got to find that balance of being like, okay, I'm doing good, but there's more to do. So
Yeah, 100%, man. Like, I find like the biggest thing, like the word that is kind of tattooed in my brain, I'd say now, is consistency. I know we've said it a lot in our interview here, but consistency just on your day-to-day basis is just so important. And that's one thing I've learned. Like, even, I work out with one of my friends, one of my close childhood friends, and like, we push each other to go to the gym. Like, there's days where I come home from work and I'm like, oh, I'm tired and like,
yeah,
I'm in a great mood. And I'm like, you just got to do it. You just got to get up and stay consistent, and it'll just make you feel better in the end. And just, you feel like you made some self accomplishment, that day. It's like, I didn't want to do it, but I did it.
and that feeling afterwards, you're like, oh, I feel so much better. I'm like, it's crazy because these thoughts of being like, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, we give them so much power, but at the end of the day, when it's reverse, we don't listen to them. Like, for my journey across America, people were always telling me, oh my God, you'll never make it out of one state, blah 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 blah. It's like, hey, although that's right, or that maybe is right, I didn't know. I was like, okay, maybe you're right, who knows. But on the other side of that is, but what if I make it out of one state? And I was so sure that I was gonna make it across America. Like, to me, there was no option. It was not a matter of like if I was gonna do it. It was more of a matter of how am I gonna do it. And that's when you really got to focus on the thoughts and the way you speak to yourself. And that's true for everything. Like, the one person that we speak to the most is ourselves. So if our internal conversation is not good, you can't expect people around you to respect you and believe in you and pour into you if you can't even do that for yourself. And yeah, when you start giving power to the right thoughts, then that's when it's easier to be consistent, show up for yourself, and then also lead the way for other people.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know about you, but for me, over the years, when people have said, "Oh, you can't do this," or people doubt me, and I prove them wrong, it's like I'm a little bit petty, but I
Yeah,
just
but
love
so,
proving people wrong.
yeah, sure.
It's
I
my superpower.
I feel you on that. I something I did. I don't have my iPad anymore. It doesn't work. But I used to. One thing I did is I created this sheet, and then I cropped everybody's face that would have said something that I remembered negative to me, and I cropped all their faces on it with what they would have said, like quotation marks, whatever. And then I printed it and I put it on my front door. So every time I would leave my apartment, I would see it and I would remember, be like, you know what? This one's for you, motherfuckers.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
love it. That, honestly, that is such a good way to start your day. You leave the house
You
and
gotta trick yourself. Like, it's all
yeah,
about tricking yourself and doing things that you need to do, but always feel like doing. Like, for me, I write my goals and everything on my mirror in my bathroom a lot of times, because at the end of the day, every time I go into my bathroom, I see my mirror. Even if I'm not reading my goals, I know they're there. My brain like sees it. And I've done it for my journey across America. I've done it to become a professional hockey player. And I keep on doing it. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's how much can I trick myself or like put myself in a situation that I know is going to propel me towards the things I want to accomplish. And I don't know. I just love finding little things like this. It's the detail. It circles back to the details. There's, whether it's at work or whether it's in sports or the gym, everybody works hard when you get to a certain level. Everybody's talented. Now, at the end of the day, it's what are you willing to do aside from all these things that nobody else is thinking of or doing. Like, you don't need the craziest recipe for success. All you need to do is to hammer it every day when other people can't. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused. And that's why, just as much as me that consistency is the key now. Like, there's no other way.
Mhm. That's so true. And another thing too, I remember seeing this clip of Mike Tyson on a podcast, I'd say maybe before actually the fight from last month. And he said, discipline is doing the things you don't want to do, but making it look like you want to do them.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah,
That you
for
look like
sure.
you love it. Right. And I was like, that is so true. I was like, holy shit. Like they just gave me a whole new perspective. Like, you know, like my parents always growing up were always like taught me in school, like, hey, I didn't like this course, or I didn't like this class, or I wasn't good at math, for at some point of my life, and I was struggling, and they just told me you got to do it even if you don't like it, because you're gonna be in the workforce one day and not want to go to work, and you still have to do it because you got bills to pay, and your family's relying on you to do it, and and yourself, you're gonna got to push yourself to do it. So I kind of, when I was a kid, I obviously didn't really think much of that, but as I got older and I experienced that at times, like it hits different.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember there's one of my coaches over the years and great friend. His name is Jeremy Meyer. He's the owner and a coach at Proximal Strength. It's a CrossFit gym in Springfield, Missouri, where I was in college. And I remember once we were doing this crazy workout, and it was so hard. We were all dying. And I remember in the middle of it, he stood there and he looked at us and he said, "Guys, when I was competing in the CrossFit Games, when I was doing hard workouts, no matter how hard it was, I would make myself smile." He's like, even if I was on the verge of throwing up, I would purposely just smile and just look around and smile. And not only did that body language made me believe that everything was okay and that I was going to get through it, but the whole other competition around me was like, why is this guy smiling right now? Like, we're all dying, and this guy's just sitting there like this, big smile on his face. And I think that's, like there's a bunch of NHL fighters that would say that too. They're like, hey, like right before a fight, I just smile.
Really?
And it's like, dude, I forget which one it was. I remember seeing also a podcast like this. It was, what's his name? The famous Quebec fighter. Like
George Larac. Was it Stefan Quintel maybe, or George Larac?
George Larac, yeah.
George
And he
Larac.
was like, I would just drop my gloves and I'd look at the guy and be like, hey, good luck. And I'd smile. Like, if I'm about to drop my gloves, these guys get the biggest smile on his face. I'm like,
Yeah.
So
It just throws you off. Like that.
for
That's
sure.
amazing. Even like I don't know if you watch football, American football, NFL. Andrew Luck was this quarterback with Indianapolis Colts, and he retired a few years ago due to like a lot of injuries. But every time he used to get tackled, he used to get like trucked, and these like 300-pound linemen are like crunching him, right? And he gets up and he just taps the guy in the helmet and says, "Oh, good hit, nice job, buddy." And then the guy they're turning around like, "What?" That's like not even chasing him,
So
right?
wow.
So
That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Larocco, man, that guy, he played for the Habs for a couple of seasons, and yeah, he's a tough guy. He's training Matt Rempe in the
Yeah,
summer
I saw
boxing.
that.
Oh shit, that's amazing.
That's a scary sight to see.
Oh yeah. Have you met any NHL players? I know you played, or sorry, you worked with the Bruins. Your college
Yeah,
days. Did you have a chance to meet any of the players?
yeah. When I was young, I met David Desharnais. He was he's my godfather's best friend. They used to play hockey together.
Oh,
When they
no
were,
way.
yeah. And then over the years, yeah, I've met a ton of NHL guys. My trainer Jeff Lavecchio in the summer has all his NHL guys training with him in St. Louis, and that's usually where I'm at to be with First Form and stuff like that. And like being in that environment of being able to go skate with a bunch of them, and like Trent Frederick, all these guys, all the St. Louis guys. There was another Canadian player who just retired, Weitzman.
Chris Weinman, yes, played with Ottawa, Montreal, yeah.
He was there. There's a bunch of guys who play in Europe and the coast and the AHL. it's just cool to be. There's Joseph Wool from the Maple Leafs who's there, the goalie. It's just great to be in that environment. Like obviously on a whole different scale than I am, but being surrounded with these guys and like the conversations they have and their work ethic and everything, it's good. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer that you have to surround yourself with who you want to become or like who you aspire to be. And I don't know, I just find it fascinating to see how these guys operate. They're like robots. It's crazy. Their habits, the details. That's what, like, I keep saying it over and over, but at the end of the day, like seeing these guys operate at such a high level and consistently is crazy. So yeah, I've been very fortunate on that side of things to be able to exchange and talk with guys like this. And what I like about these NHL guys is like compared to some sports, like their egos. I mean, there's always like some of them they're like this, but like the ones I've had the chance to be around, like their egos are not like what they could be if they played football or basketball. Like these guys are very down to earth people, and they treat everybody with respect, and they're always there to like answer questions and just treat you like a human being. And that's why I think is important too. Like when you're able to exchange with these guys and you feel like it's okay, like that you're allowed to be in the same room with them and stuff like that. It's like it makes the experience much more comfortable, and honestly, like you get to learn a whole lot more. And even when you're training and skating with them, you're just having fun instead of feeling like, oh my god, I gotta prove something. And yeah, I don't know, great experience overall, honestly. And yeah, it's always a blessing to be able to train with guys like this.
That's awesome. Like, I have a good friend of mine who used to play in the NHL, Dale Weiss. Shout out to Dale.
Mhm.
He's a
Yeah, I saw his your videos, your podcast, and I loved him when he played there when I was in Quebec.
Yeah, he's the man. I'm telling you, he's just such a down to earth guy. Like honestly, like I'll talk to him just about every day. Like I was texting him last week, and just asking him how he was doing, how life's doing, and
It's
he's just very humble guy.
I love
He's
that.
been a big role model for me in a lot of ways, and I look up to him. And he's very inspiring.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, man, it's like that's why I was trying to kind of add to what you were saying too, because it's true. A lot of these guys, the masses kind of think hockey players are bad people because there's scandals everywhere, like Hockey
Yeah.
Canada, bad things like that. But most of these guys are just down to earth guys. They just want to play hockey. They want to have a family, have kids, live a good, simple, happy life, right? So they just want peace, when they're at the rink and when they come home, like it's, and that's why for me, like hockey's always been my favorite sport. Like I didn't really play it much growing up. I got into it a little bit later.
Mhm.
But for me, it's just, I love the sport. I love the culture. And I also, just the players alone make it easier to like the sport because
Yeah.
they just respect the game so much. They were, and I find like in other sports, I don't want to rip on those athletes, but like
Yeah.
again, going back to the NBA, like the guys just there's no defense anymore, and
Yeah.
they just want to get paid, right? They're not respecting the game. They don't love it. They're not playing because they love basketball. They're just playing because they love what basketball brings, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, and I'll find a lot of these guys in the NHL or even like in the American League, the East Coast League, like even in some of the lower leagues, right, where they're not
College.
making. No, I don't mean that in like a bad way. Like in like
Yeah.
the,
No, I'm
the
saying like even in college, you see guys who play because they just love it. Like
yeah, yeah.
it's very different for sure. I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah, like, and they're not making, like NHL money, but they're playing because they just love it, right? And they
Yeah.
love going to the rink every day, and that's just I follow like a little bit of the American League more these days, and I just like that about those guys. They're always, they call it the always hungry league, and I see why. It's
Yeah.
it's yeah,
It's a crazy league. The A is a crazy league.
yeah. it's crazy. Like even the East Coast League, I get like the highlights, and my God, it's entertaining. It's crazy
Yeah.
how it's just as entertaining, or if not more, than the NHL with the goal. You
Yeah.
get goalie fights once a week. You get it all, right?
These guys are hungry. They're trying, and that's, I mean, yeah, it's the beauty of it. I think it's such a wild journey.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome, man. I just, yeah, I like the, again, just the passion. I love that the passion is still there in the sport, you know. And I feel like in certain other sports, it's the passion maybe died, but maybe it might change. You never know. But that's just
Yeah,
what kind of why hockey still sticks out from the rest of the sports world, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, man. Yes. Well, I don't know if you can see it, but on the inside, it's one of my favorite Bible verses,
Oh
John
yeah.
15:18. I write them on some of my caps. If you can, would you be able to go into, how much does God play a factor in your everyday life, in your hockey
Yeah.
career? Um, you
It's
know,
a great question. So growing up, I was never really introduced to religion. Um, family and like my parents separating and everything. Like it was just going in so many different directions. It's not something that was really implemented in my life. And because I was facing so many challenges early on, um, I never like turned when in those moments, I never turned to God being like, hey, I need your help. Like things are not okay, blah, blah, blah. And because I didn't know about it. And to this day, I can't say that I know much about religion. I understand that there's a greater force, that things don't just happen. There's no way I would have lived the life I have lived and I get to live every day if it wasn't for something greater than me. Um, but yeah, I do think that I pay a lot of attention to those things. I mean, like I can't say I have the best understanding on what that would look like for me and how to like turn to it, but at the same time I'm very in tune with all these things and I really pay attention to it. And I just know, I mean, at the end of the day, like I believe in something. I believe, I'm a very stoic person, and because I was never introduced to religion and I felt like I did it on my own, even though I know it's not on my own. I just trust the universe. I trust life. I trust myself. I trust the people I love, and to me, that's kind of how God shows up in my life. Through experiences, through people that love me, through being able to play the sport that I love for a living, and I cherish it. So for now, I can't say that I've had the opportunity to really dive into what that is, but at the end of the day, I'm also aware enough that it's here in my life in so many ways. And, instead of being like, I'm this religion or I'm this or I'm that, but then my actions conflict with what I believe in, instead of just stop trying to label it as one thing and kind of just pay attention to it and celebrate it with, making the most out of every day. And so hope that answers your question. But yeah.
for sure. No, for sure. That's very well said. And yeah, like I'm Italian Canadian, and um, Jesus and God are, very big things, and a lot of I don't want to say all Italian families, but a lot of them, right?
Yeah,
And
for sure.
yeah, like worshiping God, like we celebrate Christmas, and we do a lot of, we have a lot of traditions, I guess you could say. And yeah, like I feel like, even if you're, that something is there too, like
Oh,
that God is there for you. That's always a good thing, and and I respect that for everybody. And and another reason why, like, I still believe as well is because, again, through a lot of the hard times of my life, I helped myself, but God really helped me
yeah,
pull
no,
me
for sure.
out of it, right? And yeah, like it took time, and sometimes I questioned it. A lot of times in my life I question it, but as I got older, I started to see that, it's a process, right? And it's not going to come to you right away. And that's
Not
just, I try to remember that what I'm praying for and what I want in life is, it's all process. It'll come one day. It's just, you got to be patient, right?
and when
That's,
you least expect it most of the time too.
yeah, that's right.
Crazy. You feel
Yeah.
stuck for so many months, so many weeks, so many years, and then all of a sudden, in a matter of 3 days, everything comes together, and you're like, "Huh." And then when that comes through, you're like, "Okay, but what do I do now?" That's why you got to recenter yourself on enjoying that journey, and that's what happened to me when I crossed the finish line. My skate across the country, got to the finish line, and although I was very proud and I was very excited, my first thought was like, "Okay, but like, what do I do now? Oh no."
Yeah.
It was terrifying. So
Yeah, it can
that,
be, man. I'm telling you, it's terrifying when, you achieve something that you've been waiting to do for a long time, and then you're like, what's the next step? But,
yeah,
in that time, you should, um, what's the word? I'm trying to explain this, but you should, you know, appreciate the journey. That's what I'm trying. That's
for
what I'm
sure,
trying. Yeah,
100%.
I always, with everything all the adversity I went through in my life, and especially in my adulthood, like sometimes I'll just sit back and I'll, like, if I'm just by myself, just watching a hockey game in the basement, and I'll just reflect, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe this happened, and I got through it. I
Yeah,
just sometimes when you're not doing anything, I know I do it a lot, but I just reminisce a lot in a good way. I don't mean I don't
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So I just remember, damn, like I did that, or I fucked that up, but I got through it, right?
Yeah,
So
we all do. We all do at some point. We all have. We all will. It's just part of it, and to me, it's so powerful. I actually did. You'll like this.
yeah,
Yesterday, I went in this cafe in Paris, and their concept is you can write a letter that you mail to yourself either 1 year, 5 years, or 20 years from now. So you write it, and then like you seal the envelope and you leave it there, depending on like when you want it to be sent to you. I did the 1 year one to try, but yeah, and it's cool because a year ago I thought my life would look like this, and this, and then today I'm like, wow, so different and not so different at the same time. So you just got to be grateful for it and accept the changes when they come, and also just keep showing up. That's the way to do it.
yeah, just goes back to what we've been saying the whole time, just
Yeah,
consistency, right, brother?
sure,
That's it.
for
Yeah.
sure. I wish, and sometimes I tell people, I'm like, I wish I could tell you like a fancy, crazy hack to make shit happen in your life, but guess what?
Just
There's none.
consistency. It's
There's
just one
none.
word.
People were like, "How did you prepare for Skate Across America? How do you?" Hey, you just show up every day until like it's ingrained in your brain, like it's gonna happen. And whether I never thought he was gonna fail, not once. It never crossed my mind. But in the event that he did, I knew that I left nothing on the table, so I was okay. I was like, I was so prepared. I was like, if I die doing this thing, it's fine because I literally accepted the fact that this is what I was pouring my life into, and that's that's what I enjoyed about it. Because I love hockey more than anything on this planet. But what's frustrating about it is that you don't always control everything, right? Like you control what you can control, but there's a lot of in a team sport, in a team setting, whether it's the refs, the coaches, the other team, the elements, everything. There's so many things at your control, which can make or break you. I mean, it truly can.
Yes.
Whereas, like for my journey, I was by myself. Whatever I put in is what I got out of it. And so, but that's the beauty of team sports. That's the beauty of sport in general. It's a multifaceted thing that you gotta learn how to navigate, and that's why being resilient and consistent and taking care of what you need to take care of relieves a lot of pressure from the uncertainty that playing a team sport brings. I feel like.
Absolutely. I feel like one thing too is I I always tell people, like, if they haven't played a team sport, whether it be hockey or football, especially football's a big brotherhood. I find, like, you, even if you don't play hockey for the rest of your life or what, or when you're a kid and you don't play after you turn 18 or whatever. Just the skills you learn from playing a team sport can really impact you for the rest of your life. Like,
Sure.
like I played hockey, like, I played like more men's league when I got older. I didn't really play growing up. So, but you you just get such a connection with the guys that you play with, and it's like a camaraderie. And I try to use those kind of team, I put team first skills, in my everyday life.
Yeah.
Obviously I advocate for myself, of course, but
Yeah.
you try to think about your team and the people around you as well, right? Like I kind of have that team mentality with a lot of things in my life, right?
It's rare for people nowadays, especially in the workplace or in like society, they're removed from that team setting. It's like what seems so common for us might be like mind blowing for somebody else.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And lead, and like we were talking about with Sidney Crosby earlier, there's leading by example, leading with your actions sometimes is could be more effective than being a having more being a like a talk, like you talking a lot in the room or being like that, right? So,
Sometimes it's needed, but like for me, when
yeah.
somebody stands up in the middle of the locker room and they talk to you for 20 minutes and go on about we need to do this, this, and this, but then you look and 10 minutes later they're not even able to hold the standard they're trying to set. I'm like, man, like it'd be so much more powerful if you didn't say anything and you just did. Like I respect that so much more than and okay, like sometimes you need somebody to get up and scream and yell and like fire up everybody, but like
Of course.
for me, if I see like the team captain who's 34, like just warming up before every practice, cooling down after every practice, like helping fill up water bottles, even though he's the oldest guy with the most games played, then it's like, okay, like I want to go to war with you. But the guy who stands up and like who's telling me like we need to do this and we're not doing this right and this and then you look and they're the first ones complaining and stuff. I'm like, that just doesn't
Yeah.
work. That doesn't work.
Yeah, like I find like there's certain players, in the NHL even that, uh, they could be that type where they get mad and they start saying we got to start doing this better. And I remember there was one clip I saw years ago. It was Joe Pavelski when he was on the Sharks,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they were losing a game. I can't remember what it was, a long time ago, but he during the whole intermission he was just yelling at the guys like get going, like he was cussing and swearing and stuff. He's like, gotta get fucking going, boys, and we gotta start doing this. And then he came back in the second period and he scored like a handful of goals, or like 2 goals, sorry. And then
So
like
that's
that's just like a great leader, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, like you set the standard straight, but you can also, also practice what you preach. And
Like you see team captains in the NHL who will fight, and like these guys are superstars, and they'll like, hey, like you don't touch my fourth liner teammate. Like I don't know. To me, respect is earned in so many different ways, and yeah, the room for error is not very big sometimes, and people get caught up. But when you see a great leader, you can see it from a mile away, and that's somebody you want to follow for sure.
absolutely, yeah. I was gonna ask you one more thing, Louis. So obviously you live in France. You
Yeah.
born and raised. Are you a big football, soccer fan?
I can't say I'm a fan. I will follow here and there. Like I'll chirp my dad because we like the rival teams. He likes Marseille. I like PSG, so we
Oh
always
yeah.
each other. And then I'll watch like the Team France games and like the bigger like European Cup and stuff like this. But I don't fully follow soccer. No.
Oh, okay. I was just curious. That's all, because I know like League One is a pretty big league over there. Obviously, with it's probably. I mean, would you say? I mean, I don't know if this is a dumb question, but I guess soccer, football would be probably the biggest sport in France right now,
Well, it
right?
is for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, it is. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, these guys are superstars, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, the amount of I just went and saw PSG against my hometown a couple weeks ago.
Oh, Nice.
It was like the fans, the ultras. I was in the stands right next to theirs, and you see these, like, some of them are not even watching the game. They're not even facing the field. They have their shirts off. They have flares and the flags and drums. It's great. These guys are insane.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I mean, it's crazy, but the amount of money. Here, I'll try to find some photos. I'll show you.
Yeah.
The amount of money this league brings, the players, the fans, the hype around it, it was nuts. That was the stadium right there.
Yeah. Oh man.
Let me see if I have yeah, right there.
Wow. That dude, like some of those stadiums probably fill like
Oh,
80 to 90,000.
Yeah, no, it was full. It was I mean, it was a Saturday night, but it was completely packed.
That's peak right there. Saturday night soccer.
Insane.
Oh, beautiful. That's PSG, right? Paris Saint-Germain.
That was PSG, yeah.
Nice.
Then you can see, like, I'll shoot the ultras that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's scary almost.
Wow. Oh my God.
It was nuts.
Man, that's crazy. Like
friends will go watch a soccer game.
Oh, dude, I'm so down.
Yeah,
my fiance and I want to go to Paris one day. That Europe is on our list. She works in the travel industry, so hopefully we can make that happen. But if we go to Paris, I'll definitely hit you up.
We'll go catch a couple games, and then I'll send you guys all the good addresses to go to and check out for sure.
Oh, sounds good. For sure, buddy. Well, this will wrap up this episode today. This is episode 5 of the Adrian Friends podcast. I haven't made much content on this page in a while. Life's been pretty busy with I got engaged in April. So
let's go. Yeah. Congrats. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I was we were in Cuba, and I proposed to my fiance on the beach on the sunset.
Go. Winners win. That's right.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. So it's been busy. We've been doing some house hunting lately. We went yesterday, looked at a bunch of places. So yeah, life looks like it's trending in the right place. So pretty happy.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Very happy for you. Definitely deserve it. And I'm excited to see what you guys are going to build together. It's great.
I appreciate that, bro. You're the man.
Yeah.
Well, sure. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And Louis, thanks for doing this. You're an awesome guy. You're very inspirational, and I'm happy to have you as a friend.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. This was great. I'm glad we finally were able to set up a time. But
yeah,
if you ever need anything, just I'm only a text message away or a flight to France. But
for sure, buddy. All right. Well, everyone, thanks again, and have a good one.